Joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, fresh off the NBA on TNT set. It is long days, long nights right now in the middle of the playoffs, but they're still some of the freshest on television. Kenny Smith back here on the Rich Eisen Show now as an author as well as an Emmy-nominated analyst. How are you, Kenny Smith?
Well, I'm doing great, man. Everything's going well. Can't complain. Like you said, late nights, early mornings, but it's all good. It's NBA basketball at its best.
Take me behind the scenes. What are you doing watching these games? What's it like? Are you sitting on the set? Is it the four of you sitting on your actual set? Do you go to another room, green room, something?
Oh, no. We have a green room in the back that becomes the kids' clubhouse.
Okay.
And everything and anything is talked about as the games are going on as well. So it's multiple TVs on. Sometimes Charles is a big hockey fan.
Oh.
So we got the hockey guys there. Plus he's there. They're watching hockey and basketball simultaneously. And then on certain Tuesdays when the baseball games are going on, then it's a madhouse.
Is there like a assigned seating? Does Shaq have a seat that nobody sits in, or Charles?
Oh, no, there's assigned seating that. Oh, well, of course, there's a seat that I've sat in 21 years. Mm-hmm. Charles has sat in for 18, and Shaq has sat in for 12. That no one and everyone knows never to sit in. and we always play around when someone new comes in. We like. If one of us are missing, oh, yeah, you can sit there. You can sit there. Go sit down. And then the other person has to make that person move.
That's my follow-up. That was my last follow-up question on this before we get to the actual NBA action is, like, has there ever been a newbie? Like when, I guess, Gretzky came in or something like that, and he just sits down?
Any guest that comes in, you know, the seats are, like, super comfortable. So they, oh, I'm going to sit here. And if someone's sitting in Charles's seat, and I'm there already in my seat because we're right next to each other.
Yes.
He looks at me. He doesn't look at the person. He looks at me like it's my fault that I let him do it, and it's vice versa. So we play games with that. But, yes, it is assigned seating. You cannot sit in certain seats in that studio.
But I understand that, Kenny, because, you know, if you know that's Charles's seat and Charles isn't in there, you could save him the trouble of being the a-hole. You're making him the a-hole. You could save him.
But isn't that the purpose of life?
That is true.
That is my purpose in life.
Is to make Charles the a-hole. I get it. Very good. Yeah.
100%.
That's why your show's so good for as long as it's been, Kenny. That's so great. All right, so let's jump in before we get to your book here about how in trouble are the defending champion Warriors now that they're down 3-1, Kenny?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a 95% rate that they won't make it out of it, you know. So, you know, super trouble. However, I was blessed to be on one of those 5% teams that came back from 3-1. The one thing that they could point to is Game 5 is at home. So when Game 5 is at home, our rationale, we're sitting on the team playing, and we go, well, they're not going to beat us in Game 5 at home. It's like, no, they're not coming and beat us 4-1 at home. Oh, then all we have to do is win Game 6 because there's no way they're going to win a Game 7 on our court. So you have to have a delusion of grandeur.
Yes.
But at the same time, you do have 2 out of the 3 games at home, which is an advantage. That's why you play for that. And so it does move the needle slightly where you may not be, you know, feeling the same way about Game 5 as a team if you were going into Los Angeles to play.
Yeah, and then obviously Game 3 was a washout. Game 4, they kind of had the Lakers where they wanted them until Lonnie Walker IV took over that game, and we'll hit that in a second. But lingering on the Warriors, as you know, you said you can point to the fact that they have 2 of 3 at home. And, well, we're in the media, Kenny, so we point at things. And the finger at what? I mean, what is the missing part of the team that had the chip last year? What do you got for me on that with the Warriors? What's missing?
Well, I think they're just smaller this year, the Warriors, than they have been in the past. So they don't have the same, I would say, the same ability to kind of just dominate physically at times. When Draymond was playing the four, why am I going blank? My Aussie center, when they first started out, when they first started their championship run, they had size.
Bogut?
And then, yes, exactly. And then they would just go small. But now they play small the whole game. So that is a difference. There's no transition from start to finish. And so what happens, they're in more close games. And when you're in more close games, it's like if you drive a car, 30 hours, if you drive a car 20 hours a day, you're going to have a fender bender. I mean, it's just natural. And so they have a lot of fender benders because they only play small when they're at their best now.
And now the Lakers just have, could you say the Lakers have a deeper team? I don't know. I mean, obviously they've got a big three with Golden State and LeBron and Anthony Davis. The supporting cast for the Lakers, last night it was Lonnie Walker IV who came through. Do you have any sense of how deep the Lakers are for a deep run that they appear to be making? Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, their trade deadline was probably the best, in basketball, when you pick up who they picked up from Hachimura all the way down to, D'Angelo Russell. And when they started making those moves, it really propelled their roster. Their roster was pretty light. But Golden State's, roster's not bad. But we haven't seen the Jordan Poole that we've seen last year or the year before. The guy's kind of been missing in action in terms of being able to create his own shot, create havoc for the defense, and give Clay and Steph, rest on the offensive end. At times, people are saying, well, do they need Klay Thompson last year? They're like, oh, I don't know if they need him. And that was a big draw. Now you're like, it's impossible to play basketball at Golden State without Klay Thompson.
Well, and then comes the issue with Poole before we move on here, Kenny, is the way that the season began with Draymond hitting him with a right cross and how the Warriors may or may not truly have put that to bed. Is there a conversation you guys have off camera or even on camera a little bit about this? Do you think this is lingering? Do you guys talk about that?
Well, I think that we all think that it could linger, but I think as a professional, you say it should not, because we're now 82 games later. We're not in the same scenario that we were in before, and I would think that there still could be some animosity, but in fact affecting his individual play to the level it has, I think at times, I wouldn't think that that's the reason. Because as an individual, you're still doing your own workout. You're still doing, your same drills that you do to get ready for a basketball game. And at times, he just doesn't seem ready for the moments that they're expecting him to have. Like he has a bigger role than he's had prior to that. And I think defenses have now he becomes a primary target on the scouting report. I think that has just as much to do with it than just I got in a fight with a teammate publicly.
Emmy nominated Kenny Smith, and author of Talk of Champions, Stories of the People Who Made Me, which is available today wherever you get your books. Calling into the Rich Eisen Show, a few minutes left with him. If you put your marker on any of the remaining 8 teams, obviously it would be tough to put your marker on the teams down 3-1 in the Warriors and the Knicks. But you got 2 other series tied at 2 apiece. Who do you put your marker on right now to win it all, Kenny?
Well, I still think that, the Denver Nuggets are still in the mix of everything. To me, they, from top to bottom, when you watch them play, they have every piece in every game. They're a team that, when you look at them, you go, what holes do they have? And you go, do they have a great center? Yeah. Do they have a great point guard? Do they have a great bench? Do they have good coaching? They have everything that would mark a champion. They just have to deliver now, because I think they are the best team in basketball.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're taking bets right now, Kenny. Are you at an ATM or filling your car with gas? What are you doing right now? We're talking.
The bet right now is I was stopping to fill my car with gas, and I said no. And I waited.
Okay.
Because I had to stop, and I was like, man, I'll stop and drive and see and stop on the side because I got to talk to my man, Rich.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm never going to talk and drive.
Well, you're going to go high octane, right? The highest octane possible.
No, this is a rental car, brother.
But come on, Kenny, you're putting it on the Turner dime. What does it matter? What do you care?
Oh, baby, it still gets the cheap gas, man. You never pull a rental car. You don't treat a rental car like you treat yours.
Okay. All right. I just understand. I just wanted to get this whole thing settled. Kenny Smith here on the Rich Eisen Show. Why'd you write the book, Talk of Champions, the stories of the people who made me, Kenny?
Well, for me, it was more about it happened actually after all the social unrest was happening that we hadn't seen, at least in my lifetime, the way it was when George Floyd, and then I walked off the set. I don't know if you remember that. I said, I'm going to join this march and walk off the set of the show. A week later, a literary agent, she calls me and she goes, Kenny, you have a book. I always thought I could write an article about my life, but not a book. And then she said, I said, why do you think that? She said, why did you walk off? I said, I really walked off because of all of the people that make, and there it was. I was like, it wasn't one moment. It was Dean Smith talks. It was Bill Russell. It was Shaq. It was Michael Jordan. All of the people that – so I was like, wow, there's other things about them that I look and take into my daily life that if I knew at 21 all the things that were going on, man, I should just share this information because I think when you read it, you'll feel better about yourself because you'll start to understand why you do things and why did that work. Because, honestly, Rich, I used to take for granted the people around me, meaning I thought everyone had Bill Russell around them or Dean Smith or Michael Jordans or Shaq's or Charles. I thought that was commonplace in business. One of my good friends in college was David Kohler from the Kohler family, the largest plumbing company in the world. He slept on my couch for summer school. Guy Osseri, who manages Sting and Madonna and the biggest names in business, slept on my couch for like 45 days. I thought this was normal to have people like that around you. And then I realized that everybody I knew had a book written about them. I was like, they're not normal. And I need to tell the stories of what I see that makes them great and stories of champions.
Well, and again, I don't want you to give away too much of the book here in the few minutes we have left. So of all the names that you just mentioned, I'll pull on the Bill Russell string. You got a story you want to tell about Russell, what you learned from him, where you met him, anything about that? Well,
the biggest thing I learned from him, it was in a casual moment. He drafted me, and he was my coach, my first coach. And so we're sitting on the plane, and he's looking at like a sheet with all of these European players that they possibly could draft. Mm-hmm. So my job, he said, I always had to sit next to him every plane ride and every bus ride because I was a rookie. So I'm looking at the notes, and he's got these guys from Yugoslavia and everywhere. I was like, Coach, you telling me there's no guy in Alabama that's just as good? Like, he's going to fly all the way over there? And he looked at it, he stopped, he said, Kenny, as an African-American, you can never not want inclusion. And so he took a moment that was so jokingly half serious about basketball and taught me a life lesson that I move daily by, like inclusion and how to include everyone, even when I'm already included. That is the difference, that when you're included, the test is, can you include someone else that isn't? That's what the test is. And so for me, there's millions of stories like that with Bill and I. When you read the book, you'll see some more.
So, again, I don't know if it's like the NFL where you're on draft day and you get a phone call and it's the coach or the GM or the owner of the team saying, welcome to the team. Did you get a call from Bill Russell on draft day? Is that what you're saying, Kenny? Yeah,
he was the general manager and president of and the coach of the team at the time. And so, yeah, he's like, hey, Kenny, we're drafting you. And which was interesting is because they never brought me in for an interview. So I was like, oh, that Sacramento's not going to draft me. And so he calls me and he's like, well, Kenny, we drafted you. I said, well, I was surprised because you guys didn't bring me in. He said, that's why we didn't bring you in. We didn't want anyone to take you ahead of that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So, Bill, I mean, but that had to be, and again, I know you were around Dean Smith and you had a lot going on and you were around big time basketball, but for a kid, from Queens to look down at the phone or just, or obviously at the time there's no call waiting, you pick up the phone and that.
No, we didn't know it was.
Yeah, I know, right? So
we didn't grow up in that era.
I know. I just caught myself. I could have been a busy signal, right?
No question. But I was, in awe for sure. I mean, we're old enough to understand who Bill Russell was. Not even from a basketball standpoint, but from a social justice, from a cultural standpoint. We understand who he was. And to have him call you and be the person who drafts you into the NBA. And then, even years later, which I wrote in the book, 20 years later, when he had his statue put up in front of the Boston Garden, he called me again and asked me to MC it.
Oh, come on.
I mean, could you imagine?
No.
That call.
No.
He's like, Kenny, I want you to do it. I want you to MC it, when you come out. And so I always had him in such high regard over the years, and we talked, but it just assured me that he felt a way about me as well. I still keep in touch with his wife to this day. I talked to her last week. He is a figure that has always been influential in my life.
That's like getting a call from the President of the United States, Kenny.
It's better. It's better for a basketball player. It's better.
Well, tell the gang and everybody there at Turner I said hi. Say hi to Ernie, Shaq, Charles, the rest of the crew there. Love watching you. I will be watching tonight. Couple game 5s. That's all you got. I mean, my gosh, so much on the line tonight. You got any quick thoughts on that before I say goodbye to you here on this Tuesday?
Game 5 is the pivotal. That's the momentum shifters.
Yep.
But I always thought the series start only when a team is faced with elimination. That's how we felt in Houston, which is a little delusional, but that's how you got to be. So Game 5, it's still got more left.
In Boston and in Denver. Take care, Kenny. Congrats on the book. Maybe we'll see you at the Emmys in a couple Mondays. Thanks, Kenny.
Oh, appreciate that, brother.
See you soon. That's Kenny Smith inside the NBA on TNT. But talk of champions, the stories of the people who made me, available today wherever you get your books. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.